Jerry Falwell Jr. Jerry Lamone Falwell Jr. /FLWL/ born June 17, 1962, is an American attorney and academic administrator. He served as the president of Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, appointed in 2007 upon his father's death. On August 7, 2020, the board requested that he take an indefinite leave of absence after a series of controversial photographs of Falwell surfaced on social media. Early life and education. Jerry Falwell Jr. was born on June 17, 1962, the eldest son of Jerry Sr. and Mackle Falwell, née Pate. He attended private schools in the Lynchburg area, attending Lynchburg Christian Academy, later renamed as Liberty Christian Academy, where he graduated in 1980, and attended Liberty University where he obtained a BA in Religious Studies in 1984. Falwell then attended the University of Virginia School of Law, where he obtained Juris Doctor in 1987. Career. From 1987 until 2007, Falwell served in private practice in Virginia and as a lawyer for Liberty University and its related organizations. He joined the Board of Trustees of the university in 2000. As part of a succession plan the elder Falwell laid out before his death, Jerry Jr. was to be entrusted with Liberty University while Jerry Sr.'s other son, Jonathan Falwell, inherited the ministry at Thomas Road Baptist Church. The decisions were rooted in each's personality. Jerry Jr. had aggressive business instincts, and Jonathan was a more charismatic and morally upstanding character. This succession plan took effect when Jerry Sr. died in 2007. Under Falwell Jr., Liberty University has come under scrutiny for its authoritarian control over employees and students, for its nepotism toward Falwell family-owned businesses and the school's investments, and for the increasing influence of Falwell's wife Becky in school affairs. A 2019 Politico article described the university as a dictatorship in which Falwell ruled through fear. It also reported that the university sold merchandise promoting Donald Trump's presidential campaign, that Falwell Jr. had crude discussions about his sex life at work, and that Falwell Jr. showed other Liberty employees provocative photos of his wife. In June 2020, he had posted a racist remark, leading to 2 football players' withdrawal from the school. Politics. Muslims. Falwell stated during one of the university's convocations that he thought that, if, speaking of the 2015 San Bernardino attack, some of those people had got what I have in my back pocket right now, that it would not have happened. He said that he was astounded that Barack Obama's answer to the problem was more gun control. He always thought that, if more good people had concealed carry permits, then we could end those Muslims before they walked in and killed them. His comments were criticized by both Christians and Muslims. According to one report, Falwell was only heard saying then we could end those Muslims before they walked in, with the and killed them part drowned out by applause. Falwell later said he was referring to Muslims committing terrorist attacks and not Muslims in general. Donald Trump. On January 26, 2016, Falwell announced his endorsement of Donald Trump for the Republican nomination in the 2016 presidential election, causing some Liberty University alumni and other Christians to express concern that Falwell had sold his soul. On July 21, 2016 at the RNC convention in Cleveland, Ohio, Falwell Jr. called Trump America's blue-collar billionaire and one of the greatest visionaries of our time in his endorsement of the candidate he felt most likely to defend the right to bear arms, stop Iran from becoming a nuclear power, and appoint conservative pro-life justices to the Supreme Court. In an August 19, 2016 editorial in The Washington Post, Falwell compared Trump to Winston Churchill. We need a leader with qualities that resemble those of Winston Churchill, and I believe that leader is Donald Trump. A group called the Red Letter Christians criticized Falwell for the pivotal role he played in forging the alliance between white evangelicals and Donald J. Trump, who won 81% of their vote. Trump, who is a personal friend of Falwell's, gave the commencement address in 2017 at Liberty University, Lynchburg, which is at the heart of pro-Trump evangelical Christianity. In August, following a white supremacist terror attack in Charlottesville, Falwell defended President Trump, saying that the president doesn't have a racist bone in his body, adding that the president is being attacked by thin-skinned Americans. You know, he's a little abrasive sometimes in the way he says things, and we have some thin-skinned Americans sometimes who ignore the substance of what he's saying because they're put off by his demeanor, Falwell said. And I think we need to grow up as a people and stop being so easily offended. Asked in a January 2019 interview, "Is there anything President Trump could do that would endanger that support from you or other evangelical leaders?" Falwell answered, "No." Israel. In June 2016, Falwell expressed support for Israel when Liberty University moved to invest $5 million of its endowment in Israel. Falwell stated, "Liberty is glad to be part of supporting the only democracy that's a close ally of the United States, in an area that is in such turmoil right now." In April 2017, Falwell referred to Trump as the dream president for evangelicals, and cited uniting with Israel and appointing people of faith in his administration as the reason why evangelicals support Trump. Coronavirus response and conspiracy theories. In March 2020, the outbreak of coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, was spreading quickly in the United States, leading to the widespread closures of schools and universities. By March 13, most universities in Virginia announced that they were moving their classes to online only, discontinuing in-person instruction. Falwell announced on March 13 that in-person classes at Liberty University would resume following spring break, March 14 to 22, 2020, in defiance of nationwide calls for mandatory school closures. Also on March 13, Falwell promoted a conspiracy theory that North Korea and China conspired together to create the coronavirus. He also said that people were overreacting to the coronavirus outbreak and that Democrats were trying to use the situation to harm President Trump. After spring break on March 23, without the knowledge of city officials, Falwell reopened Liberty University to students to physically return to the campus despite calls for the campus to stay closed to limit the spread of COVID-19. Falwell then claimed that the mortality rate among young people was low. He also blamed the media for exaggerating the threat of COVID-19, saying, "They are willing to destroy the economy just to hurt Trump." In response to Falwell's decision to reopen Liberty University, Lynchburg Mayor Treni Tweedy said in a statement. Virginia's Governor, Ralph Northam, criticized Falwell's decision to reopen Liberty University, citing scripture to support his statement. Mary Beth Davis Baggett, a professor at Liberty University, has protested against Falwell's reopening of the university. In an op-ed published by The Washington Post and Religion News Service, Baggett called Falwell's decision a foolhardy decision, tracks Falwell's conspiratorial thinking about COVID-19 and smacks of defiance. She continued, "Public comments on the pandemic have manifested bravado, self-congratulation and callousness in the extreme, as he spewed far-fetched, unsubstantiated and misleading information about the coronavirus outbreak. By continuing to flout the danger of this novel coronavirus, Falwell also encourages reckless behavior in the university's students." Prior to the school's reopening on March 23, Liberty University's leading physician at the school, Thomas W. Epps Jr. informed Falwell that, "We've lost the ability to corral this thing." Of Liberty University's 15,000 on-campus students, 1,900 students initially returned, and 800 subsequently left after initially returning. Falwell said that, the university administration had no idea how many of these students had returned to off-campus housing. By March 30, according to a report by the university's leading physician, almost a dozen returning students had symptoms of COVID-19, 8 students were told to self-isolate, 3 were tested and 1 student that lived off campus, tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. By March 30, any student who returns to Liberty University is required to self-quarantine for 14 days. An anonymous student filed suit against Liberty U in April. Liberty's decision to tell its students that they could remain on campus to continue to use their housing, meal plans, parking, and the benefits of the services and activities for which their fees paid, was not only illusory and empty, because there were no more on-campus classes, but it was also extremely dangerous and irresponsible, the lawsuit states. Lawsuits. Falwell was sued over a Miami Beach, Florida hostel, which he had invested in along with Giancarlo Granda, a pool attendant at the Fontainebleau Hotel. The lawsuit was first filed in 2015, it was dismissed and then refiled in August 2017. Falwell has denied any relationship, business or otherwise, with Granda, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, and insisted that the pictures of him at the hostel were altered. On July 15, 2020, Liberty University announced that they are suing the New York Times, along with reporters Elizabeth Williamson and Julia Rendelman, for defamation. The complaint claims that the New York Times published an article that intentionally misrepresented that Liberty had reopened its campus after spring break and suffered a COVID-19 outbreak as a result. The lawsuit refers to the article titled "Liberty University Brings Back Its Students, and Coronavirus Fears, Too." The lawsuit asserts that the New York Times and reporter Elizabeth Williamson falsely claimed that Liberty University's handling of the virus and the university's response lead to an outbreak of COVID-19 on Liberty's campus, and that reporter Elizabeth Williamson intentionally published false and defamatory claims. Possible governmental positions. In November 2016, Falwell said that President-elect Donald Trump offered him the position of United States Secretary of Education but that he turned down the offer citing personal reasons and because he did not want to leave Liberty University for more than 2 years. In January 2017, Falwell said that he had been asked by President Trump to head a task force on reforms for the United States Department of Education. In June 2017, Falwell confirmed to the Chronicle of Higher Education that he would be one of 15 college presidents participating in the task force. The task force was never formed. Personal life. Falwell is married to Becky Tilley. They have 3 children, among them businessman Jerry Trey Falwell III, and live on a farm in Bedford County, Virginia. Photographs. In 2019, Reuters reported that Falwell asked Trump fixer Michael Cohen for a personal favor, to help get rid of photos described by Cohen as being personal and of the sort that would typically be kept between husband and wife. Falwell's lawyers refused to comment. Most of the photos were later discovered to be of Falwell's wife. According to Brandon Ambrosino, writing in Politico in 2019. In August 2020, Falwell published a picture on Instagram, since deleted, for attending a party on a private yacht that he claims were of a dress-up theme to the Trailer Park Boys television series. These included photos of himself and others and group photos showing them in partial states of undress and suggesting the consumption of alcohol, actions that violate the Liberty University Code of Conduct. Falwell had his arm around a woman on a yacht, both with their pants unzipped. A former instructor at the university, Congressman Mark Walker, RNC, called for Falwell's resignation. On August 7, Liberty University announced that Falwell would be taking an indefinite leave of absence from his positions.